everybody. Thank you for coming to this very special edition of Once More with Abby and Claire, as it is on a Friday and not a Thursday. But the world conspired against us, but we are here and we
Yes,
are
but we
risen and
made
all
it.
of those things. So today we are discussing, well, I should introduce you to my dearest Claire Bacon over there, my cohort in crime, as it were, aka Slutty the Clown. You know her well, you love her most.
No,
Today Today we're going to discuss season 2, episode 13 and 14. We're going to start with episode 13, which is surprise. And it basically, since it was just my birthday, I feel connected to this episode.
I was just about
So,
to stop you there and say
yes, dear.
happy birthday for Wednesday. So
Thank
it's a
you.
birthday day all around on our channel today. We have the lovely Abby, who was 21 on Wednesday, and then of course the
21
birthdays that are going to
finally
come up as we
legal,
go.
bitches.
Yeah,
So anyway, this episode starts off where Buffy wakes up from a dream, or does she? And then she's walking down the hallway and we see Drusilla following her down the hallway, and you know, your heart's in your throat, and then the doors open up and all of a sudden Buffy's in the bronze and Willow is sitting at a table with a monkey, which I guess has something to do with the animal crackers from
which I will bring up later.
Yes, please. Because all monkeys are French.
Obviously,
I do love their dream sequences. That's probably my
yeah,
favorite
they are
thing they do
absolutely
because they
stunning
hit
in
so
every.
many
Yeah,
things so perfectly. So then she looks over and she sees Joyce is in the bronze and she's got her little cup and saucer. And she
yeah.
says to Buffy, "Do you really think you're ready for this?" And drops the saucer of her cup. And then Buffy wakes up. Oh no, before this, Angel walks in the bronze and they have that moment of coming towards each other. And then all of a sudden, Drusilla comes up behind him and stabs him in the back and dusts him in front of Buffy's eyes. And happy birthday, Buffy. She wakes up. And she's a bit wiggy. Like, let's be honest. Everybody has weird dreams, but her dreams have been known at times to
Oh,
be premonitions or
yes,
prophecies. So she
absolutely.
is totally spazzing out. And she shows up at Angel's place, who looks very confused because it's the morning. And
Yeah.
she tells him about the dream, tells him she thinks it's a premonition. He said, "You know, sometimes a dream is just a dream. What else did you
Yeah.
dream?" And she said, "A dream that Joss and I often opened an office supply warehouse
What a
in
great
Vegas,"
concept.
which I thought was
I'd
awesome.
watch it.
Yeah, seriously. And then more kissing, as we know.
Lots of
And
slobbering
she's
again.
like, you know, "I don't see you in the morning." He's like, "Well, it's my bedtime." And she's like, "I want to see you more at bedtime." And then she's like, "Oops, did I just say that out loud?" And she even says to Willow, "Did you really say you like you like seeing him at bedtime?" It's so gagful. But I remember being a teenage girl, 3 years ago. So it was
Of course, it wasn't. It wasn't that long ago for either of us.
exactly. And she's talking to Willow about how she thinks it's time and she wants
Yeah.
more from Angel and she thinks she's ready to take their relationship to the next step, which is huge. And Willow in Willow Way tells her, carpe diem, and she's like, sees the fish, and she's like, or fish of the day, or whatever she says. And so basically, Willow says,
I
go
think
for it.
Clint's
You only live
pretending to be a
once.
French monkey right now.
Monster
Pardon-moi,
monkey.
Monsieur
Come
Monkey. Comment ça va?
So you'll speak French, monkey? All monkeys speak French. Uh-huh.
They do.
So
True.
they're talking. She decides she's going to give it up for Angel. She's going to give her virginity to Angel. And then we start talking about Oz and how cute he is and how much Willow likes him. And, but I don't know. He is a senior. And Buffy's like, "You think
Yeah.
he's too old because he's a senior in high
Yeah.
school?" He's like, "My boyfriend just had a bicentennial."
Yeah. It is one of those fast-paced, good line ones as well this week. It really is. There's lots
Oh,
of
it
great
was
lines in it.
so many good things. Um, and anyway, so Willow sees Oz and she goes up to talk to him. And he tells her that he was planning on asking her out for tomorrow night, but he's a little nervous about it. And she said, like, if it helps, I'm going to say yes. And he says,
Yeah.
oh, that helps a lot, actually. So then he says, do you want to go out with me tomorrow night? And she's like, oh, no, I can't. And he's like, wow, I like that you're unpredictable.
Yeah. It's such an adorable thing. And I don't know
They're
how many
so
times in
cute.
this episode I've wrote that.
And she does ask him to be her date for Buffy's surprise party.
Yeah.
So now we know Buffy's having a surprise party, and then she walks away going, I said date. So they agreed to go on a date. Xander asked Cordelia to be his date. And she, of course, in her Cordelia, of course you want everyone to know you're with me, but how will I get over the embarrassment? And, you have nothing to be ashamed of, but, look at me and look at you. And that always pisses me off.
She
Buffy,
smiled. I think it was written so well that we feel she's vile.
oh yeah, you're supposed to. And then when she
Yeah.
changes, each time she changes, you're willing
She got
to
the job
accept
description
it.
right.
But right now she's mega bitch, and we're okay with
Yeah.
that. Buffy does tell Giles that she thinks Drusilla's alive. And he doesn't doubt her. He knows her dreams before. He says, but, we're going to be vigilant. You dreamed the master was going to come back, and you stopped him. So, dreams are not 100%, and
Yeah.
we can still fight this. We cut to Spike and Drusilla, again confirming, which we already know that they are still alive. Spike is now in a wheelchair, looking a little burnt and worse for wear.
A little bit crispy.
A little crispy, but
A little
Drusilla
crispy.
is quite strong as ever. He keeps saying, I think Sunnydale's cursed for us. This is, that Slayer and Angel. And Drusilla, I love her. She's like, don't worry. I've got good games for all of them. And so, she's planning something in her head.
You just know that's where your English accent comes from.
It's my
it's your thing.
My Drusilla.
I love it.
So they've got all these like roses and everything, and she starts like freaking out on the roses, doing that weird wine thing, and these aren't right.
Nobody freaks out like Drusilla. She just
really is perfect for it. There would never be a better person to play that role.
I don't know who could have.
Juliet.
No, it's imprinted, isn't it?
She's amazing. She asked Spike, we see a bunch of boxes with the flowers, if she could open a box. And she opens one and gets all giddy and excited. She's like, it reeks of death. This is going to be the best party ever. And, it cuts back and forth a lot. We go to cute Buffy and Joyce. Basically, Buffy wants to get her license. And Joyce says to her, Buffy, but do you really think you're ready? And at the same time drops a plate. Well, now Buffy realizes, okay, this happened in my dream. This is happening now.
There's something going on.
Totally freaking out. We cut to Miss Jenny Calendar in her classroom, and a man with a hat, stoic man, walks up behind her. Vincent Schiavelli is his name.
Schiavelli.
He passed away a number of years ago, but he was in the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze, and that's my favorite.
It was. It was also in some episodes of The X-Files, I believe.
Yes.
Also.
Yeah, he's got that really weird, Stephen Wright sort of face. But she's startled, but she appears to know who he is. And
he was also in some Bond movies as well.
That's true. He was a great actor. I was very sad when he died.
Yeah, definitely.
And she says, she's telling him, I don't know what's so important, or he says, what's so important that, you're ignoring your responsibility to your people. And she tells him nothing has changed. The curse still holds. He's still suffering. And the man says to her, the old woman's never wrong. His pain, she says his pain is lessening. And Jenny does admit that there's a girl in the picture. So we come to find out that this is her uncle. What's his name? Uncle, I have it written here so I didn't forget. But of course, Thank you. The elder woman is never wrong.
Said differently, and it's accented when he says it. And she says
it. Because he's supposed to be a gypsy.
Yes.
So we find out that Jenny Calendar comes from the line of gypsy people that cursed Angel, and that it was one of the tribe's most favorite daughters that Angel murdered. And that was what caused the gypsies to curse him many, many years ago. We find out that you are still Yana of the Calderosh people. And
Yeah.
so she is Yana of the Calderosh people, not Jenny Calendar. And Uncle Inos has had it. So she tells Jenny, you have to get Buffy away from him. He needs to suffer. You need to do something. So Buffy's still super stressed out about the prospect of Drusilla being alive. Giles tells Willow and Xander they're going to go through with the surprise party. We're not canceling this. And my favorite Xander line is, it looks like Mr. Caution Man, but he sounds funny, or the sound makes us funny. Because Giles is usually the one that says, no, we must, vigilant and this and that. But he's like, you know what, she's only 17 once and she deserves this. So we're going to go through with this party. And then Jenny's, we don't trust Jenny. And I get that we're learning little bits and bats, but she tells Buffy that Giles wants to meet her somewhere. And I'll drive you. It's just easier if I drive you. And they're in the sketchy part of town, kind of behind the Bronze. And she even says, we go to the Bronze. She says, no. And she sees a bunch of vampires or a couple of vampires in a truck. And we see our friend Dalton from a couple episodes ago.
If my screen set's a bit funny or you can't hear me for a second, my neighbour's just put the washing machine on upstairs and it's pretty loud. So I'll just warn you now.
I can't hear it at all. So you're good on
that's all right. But it may get worse. I'm just warning anybody. That's all the noises. Carry on. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. So we see that Dalton is yet again stealing something. While Buffy does her quippy Buffy things, another vamp jumps her from behind. They're fighting. All of a sudden, they bust through the wall of the Bronze, and she spoils her surprise party. And here comes Cordelia jumping up. Surprise! And Buffy dusts this vampire, right in front of Oz, which is hysterical.
Yeah, it is.
And he said, did anybody see that guy just turn to dust, or is it just me? And Xander's like, yeah, vampires are real. A lot of them live in Sunnydale, blah, blah, blah.
Willow will
fill you in. And he's like, that actually explains a lot.
Sense.
So
he has some great lines in this.
They did get the box that the vamps were trying to steal. And when they open it up, they find an arm inside, which, is what do you get the Slayer that has everything? An arm that immediately comes alive and starts choking her.
Absolutely.
And she and Angel, it takes a bit for them to get it off of her throat. I mean, it is rough. Angel pulls it off and shoves it back in the box. And then, everybody's kind of wigging out. He's going, oh, it can't be. Oh, it can't be. And then Angel tells them of a legend way before his time about a demon brought forth to right the earth of the scourge of humanity, basically just separate the righteous from the wicked and make the righteous burn. And his name is the Judge. Giles, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Giles tells more of the story that rumor has it he can't be killed. They sent an army after them. Most of the army died. At some point in the past, they were able to dismember him, but not kill him. And they took all of his pieces and sent them to scattered them to different corners of the round world. And they now realize that Drusilla is bringing all the pieces to Sunnydale to reassemble the Judge and bring forth the apocalypse, as all seems to want. I mean, the apocalypse. If the apocalypse comes, beat me. But so while they're all arguing, Jenny has a brilliant idea, and we trust her so much that Angel should take the arm, get on a boat, and take it as far away as humanly possible. You'll only be gone for a couple of months. And Buffy starts kind of freaking out. A couple months, I can't be with you without you for a couple hours or a couple days, because this is young teenage love on my part. Yeah. So Buffy heads to the docks with Angel to see him off, and total teen angst moment, with the whole I won't be able to.
The whole dock scene is
so gross. I mean, I know
it is gross. I'll be honest. I mean, we love it, but it's gross.
Yes, it's gross. He does give her a very sweet gift for her birthday, because previously she told him, surprise me for my birthday, get me something. And he gets her a clotter ring, and we all know, or if you don't know what it is, it's an Irish ring. It's got The crown, it represents loyalty. The heart represents love. It's a sign
It's a
of
massive
devotion.
theme through it.
Yes. And if you wear it with the heart pointing towards you like he was wearing it, it means your heart belongs to someone else. So this is a kind of a promise ring he gives to her, which is exactly what any 17-year-old girl, when her hot multi century-old boyfriend gives her a promise ring. So he's showing he's wearing his and how he's wearing it. Next thing we know, Dalton swoops in, steals back the arm. There's vamps everywhere. Somehow Buffy gets thrown over the dock into the water. And in stupid Angel fashion, instead of going after the arm, Angel goes after Buffy because, not for nothing, she's the Slayer. She probably can swim. But I do appreciate his love for her that he
Well, I will say it again. The stunt person that we mentioned a few weeks ago, I'm sure she'll come up again and again. That great stunt of her coming off the pier and down into the water it's a pretty big. It was done really well, and you can big kudos to her stunt double every single time. And I'll come to that again later on.
Yes, yeah. I mean,
they're amazing.
There were great fight scenes, and when you have two different people fighting two different people, there's all the cross fighting, which is really cool. I did forget to mention another dream that Buffy had right before they went to the docks. That she's following Jenny Calendar to where the room where Spike and Drusilla have all the boxes that we see prior. And Drusilla says, "Hands off my present," and goes to slit Angel's throat. And then she wakes up.
Yeah.
And it's important because it's the first time she's seen Jenny Calendar in an episode, and it's going to come back later on as well.
Yeah.
This, which we'll talk about a little bit later, was a great music episode. There was a lot of fun music in this one.
Yeah, I've got that. Yeah, I've got all that. It's great, actually.
So we now see that Drusilla has all of the boxes, and they put the head box on last, and the judge magically reassembles, and it opens up. Now, the judge is played by the ever amazing Brian Thompson, who I love.
Yeah, he's such a great actor.
He's such a great actor. We've actually discussed him before because of the couple roles he plays. But and Drusilla asks him if he would like a party favor, and then points to all the little vampires standing on the side. And the judge chooses Dalton, our friend Dalton, and he's like, "Bring him to me." And Spike's like, "What? You can't bring? You're supposed to be all powerful." And like Spike's being a little dick. Let's be honest. But he's
got an attitude at the moment. Let's be honest.
So he says, he's got to get his power up. So she brings him Dalton, and he says he reeks the most of humanity. This one likes to read. And he touches him, and instantly he burns up and turns to ash. And Drusilla, do it again! Do it again! Like it was she was so excited by this.
The eternal creepy child character in a way.
Yes. Yes, she is 100%.
And I love that kind of thing, as you well know.
And, we saw it at the other episode where she had Angel, where she, he tortured her, made her crazy, and now she really loves that. So we cut to Buffy and Angel leave. So they want to see if they can stop the boxes from arriving. They realize it's too late. They're soaking wet. The judge has been assembled. The judge senses them, even though they're so quietly walking around up top there, and looks up, and they meet eyes, which is like a super cool scene. They try to run. Spike's men grab them. Angel says, "Take me instead of her," Mr. Valiant. And Spike's like, "You got this wrong, pal. It's not instead of. It's first and second. Like you're not getting out of this." Buffy kicks the judge, and Angel says, "Don't touch him." And she blasts back, but she was able to kick him without dying, and breaks away. They make a run for it, run into the sewer. They get away. They come out from the sewer grate, all Ninja Turtle style, and they're soaking wet because between jumping in the river or the ocean and then in the sewer and this and that, they go to Angel's house,
and it's raining in the end.
And gives her, Angel gives her dry clothes, tells her, get under the covers and warm up. Very sweet moment. He turns his back so she can get changed, and the inevitable is coming. they're sitting there, and in this very special episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Buffy loses her virginity at 17 years old to
Well, I
a
mean, it
209-year-old.
says this is a teen show, but
Yeah, and then we cut to Angel like shooting up in bed, not waking the Slayer, so she must have been very exhausted. Going
very tired job.
outside, it's lightning, it's pouring, he's laying there, he's screaming in pain.
Yeah.
Buffy! And then we just get it to be continued.
She's just
which
getting
I
her snarls on.
remember the first time I saw this, having to wait a whole week was dreadful.
It was just like, oh my god.
So that
it
is
was
the
one of the
episode
biggest.
in which Buffy loses her virginity. What do you have for us on this beautiful episode?
I've got a few little bits, as you said. I think the one-liners in this, the Oz and Willow, the whole Oz and Willow kind of mating dance they've been doing since the first day he came into it. It's so lovely. It's so pure. And he plays it so well. Underrated, I feel. Yet again, I say this every week about Oz. You know, Seth Green was so great in these. Mm-hmm. Absolutely the best. The way, just as you say, you know, the parent was like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. You know, yeah, vampires, that works. And
yeah, it's kind of hard to get my head around.
Yeah,
but he's
so sort of go with the flow. He's very cool. You know, like the comment about we've been off groupies at the moment. Strictly groupie clean. You know, it's pretty great. I mean, as you say, we have some great soundtracks also this week. We've got Transylvanian Concubine by Rasputina, which is absolutely such a great track. That's
I loved the music in this episode.
Yeah. And then we've got Anything by Sean Clements and Sean Murray featuring vocals by Care Howe. And I think one of the slower second one is the Angel Buffy intimate moments. And obviously the party is Transylvania Concubine when Drusilla's being Drusilla. As she always is.
I love that. I'm glad you're gonna put the link up because I really did enjoy that song.
I will. I've been slacking the links at the moment, but this week I'm gonna get a whole channel sort of flowing properly again. No, it's been a week.
You got it. You are under control. But I like that whole. It always. I said this about something else they did. They have this music that just has a very Portishead sort of, you know, ethereal quality to it, but dark, and I just really enjoyed it.
I do kind of feel as well they're very good at choosing the music for which character points and which scenes. You know, like what type of music, as you say, like Drusilla always gets something very
dark and
out there, very Portishead, very very ambient, and then Angels and Buffy's have always like love folky ballads. You know, it's kind of just I love the way they kind of assign, you know, to each kind of people what kind of songs they're gonna kind of use. A couple of things I really did like with the dialogue was the English in it of obviously Spike talking about Dalton saying he's a wanker.
He's a wanker.
Now that's amazing to me that passed your senses, but then that's not really a swear word in America. It is a massive swear word in this country.
Yeah. It's not here, but like you guys get away
super
with saying the C word, where here we wouldn't get away with that.
You wouldn't hear essentially unless
on regular television. Yeah,
Wanker was one way with that on regular television. Yeah.
I love when they, as a matter of fact, there's some funny things about censors that I like. This is completely off topic, but I'm trying to remember if it was actually Joss that wrote it. The original Avengers movie, so it's gone back a long time. They had kidnapped, or they captured Loki, and he's in the cage, and what's her name? Scarlett Johansson, but whatever. I'm blanking on her character, but
Black Widow.
Anyway, she's talking to him, and he calls her a mewing. Basically, it's something in England
mewling something into it. Mewling, I'm a massive Avengers. Mewling
they got
something.
And they were so excited that they got it through the censors, because in the UK, it basically is a female body part, which we won't mention because we don't want to get kicked off the air.
Oh,
we can say a vagina, but that's not the that's
definition.
Not the term.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you would never have got wanker past our censorship in our country at that time.
That's
never.
Hysterical.
Never.
I love it.
I don't know how it got past there, really, for a teen show. I mean, here it wouldn't get past the censor now
It was
on mainstream
probably
TV at all.
accidental that they didn't cut it out when it got to you guys also.
Now our cuts were different on DVD. But as I say, the first 2 seasons were normally the same as you. But then after that, they re-edited before it was sent to us. And as I say, with with the tune from the other week, that was taken off before it ever got anywhere near our
Wow, okay.
even viewage. As I say, things were changed, but it took a couple of seasons before that started happening. I think they didn't realise, as I said, they were slipping these English words past because they had the English character. Very
That,
jostling to do,
I
though,
love
isn't it?
that.
You know,
Yeah,
very
I
much.
love that a lot.
Yeah,
A
but yeah,
mewling
that's
quib,
about
if
all
I
I've got.
remember.
I loved a lot of the dialogue. Oh, back to the monkey.
The monkey.
So Willow speaks to the monkey. She actually speaks to the monkey at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and she says, "The hippo le piqué ton pantaloon," which means the hippo stole your trousers.
The hippo stole your pants. Yes, because I took French and I remember.
I can't
It
say
is.
that because I didn't take French, but
It's a
basically the
mewling.
quote is there, and it means the hippo stole your trousers, your
It's
pants. So that's
a
brilliant.
mewling quim. Is it? It's a
Yes,
Victorian
that's a
era
female
slang.
name for yes,
Yeah. So basically,
definitely.
it's a whining vagina in a more
Yep,
derogatory.
basically.
But I.
See, this is the difference between our languages sometimes with the English and the American. It's very strange sometimes. It's funny. It does make me laugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
So
what I've got for that one.
okay, so now we're going to move on to episode 14, season 2, which is called Innocence. And as you remember from 3 minutes ago, we end with Angel screaming in the rain in pain. We start this episode with Drusilla having a vision and, dropping to the ground in her dramatic way, calling out Angel's name. When Buffy wakes up, she is alone in Angel's bed. He is gone. Angel is outside struggling in the street. We see him collapse. A girl standing out there smoking a cigarette walks up, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm okay. And he's got his back to us. And then he turns around, he grabs her and he starts feeding on her. He drains her and he says, the pain is gone now. And as he exhales smoke from her cigarette that he got through her throat, which is it's a great
Such a
scene.
turn. Such a thing, as you said, waiting that week to go from that episode to the other. I
This
remember it very
episode
well.
is hard for me. We cut to Scooby's at the library who are freaking out because nobody has spoken to Buffy since the night before. Now, we know Buffy went back with Angel, but they don't know that. She never checked in. Buffy walks in asking if they've heard from Angel, and she's nervous because no one's heard from him. And I think she's nervous for more reasons than one. Giles does tell her that if the judge gets to full strength, he's going to be able to reduce them with just like a look to charcoal without even having to get his hands on them. And Buffy tells him that's really scary because he's like not the prettiest guy in the room. Like he's been built, and it's getting like she's getting very nervous. Jenny Calendar is still being all shifty and weird. We are at Drusilla and Spike, and Angel walks in, and I love when he fucks with them totally. He's just like, you get your hands off my Slayer and I'll foil you, like being all ridiculous. And you can see Drusilla's smile because she feels it, but Spike has no idea. And he says to oh, you haven't met my friend, the judge, and the judge comes and puts his hand on Angel and nothing happens. And he's like, Spike's like, what's wrong with you? He's like, this one's clean. Like there's no humanity left in him whatsoever. And so now, Joy is, oh, we're all one and yay. And maybe he's broken. I like when he says that about the judge. So Angelus has officially returned. And then he's like, we're going to destroy the world. Want to come? It's going to be so fun. Angelus tells him, lay low for the night. I want to have one more crack at the Slayer before.
He wants to get mean. He wants to be nasty. It's
he
such a
just,
character arc, really.
Even Drusilla's like, you just want to play with her like you played with me. And, she knows him so well. So, Cordelia, they're all in the library again, and Cordelia's kind of getting jealous over how worried he is about Buffy and how much he talks about Buffy. And that is, Xander's thing from day one.
Yeah, it becomes a recurring theme as well. It's
And
something
they
we
start
touched on a
fighting
lot.
as exactly. And then making out in the library. And when they pull apart, Willow is standing there and
Oh,
she is
Willow.
horrified. And she just takes off running.
It's so
And
sad.
she's pissed. He runs after her and she's like, this is disgusting. It's like against all odds of man and God. And it's just, don't you remember the We Hate Cordelia Club? Like, you're the treasurer, and then she says something that breaks my heart totally. She says, I realize you would rather be with someone you hate than be with me.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's a moment.
heartbreaking. It really is.
Yeah, that's a moment where things click for her. And even
Yeah,
though
it's
she's still in
so
Oz in
sad.
the background, she realizes that it's never going to happen with Xander. And I think she turns a switch off in her at that point. Buffy gets home, and before she goes in the door, she's like, meh, and then she shows up at Angel's place because she's so crazy. She doesn't know what to do. She walks in, lets herself in, sees stuff on the bed that wasn't there before, and turns around, and there is Angel. And she just runs up and grabs him and kisses him. And you could tell instantly he's pulling the Ice Queen on her. Just very, it basically gaslights her from beginning
I'm
to
sure
end.
I cried.
He's like, oh,
the
you're
first
back.
time, I'm sure I cried.
Yeah, tells her she's terrible in bed and
It's
basically
just,
hits all the things that she has anxiety over.
all that
And
teenage girl anxiety, cautionary tales yet again. This episode is actually written and directed by Josh as well.
oh yeah,
Yeah, it's fully in.
Sure.
So it's like all those bitter teen problems, that things that we're so terrified of. It's all there in like these 2 episodes.
It's horrid. He is a horrible.
Horrid.
He's total trash to her. I get to the point where I hate him so much as Angelus.
Yeah,
but
you do hate him. And I think again shows good to David Boreanaz that he actually can switch like that, because
those
it was
feelings.
such a shock
Yes, he's not just dumb and brooding like he can.
As we spoke to
art.
Ryan last week, who was very, oh, he's boring.
Yeah,
just
because he's
such a change.
Vampire guy. Uncle Enos tells Jenny that she has failed and the curse has been broken. He had his one moment of true happiness, and we know what that means. Angelus is back, and people are gonna die. And he said to her, he says, "It's not justice we serve; it's vengeance. Like, get that straight. This is personal." Willow comes back to Xander and she's like, look, I don't understand it. I don't like it. I don't want to understand it. You have gross emotional problems and they're not okay. And you're not okay. And we're not okay. But what's happening right now is much more
bigger
important
things.
than that. And as they're standing there, the lights go out in the school and we see them, and then Angel's standing off in the dark. And he tells Willow he's got something to show her. Xander, go get everybody. Go get everybody. And Xander goes to run to get everybody. He's like, Willow, come here, Willow, come here. And she looks nervous. She's walking up to him, but because it's Angel, and Jenny from behind her has a cross. You see her walk up and she tells him, get away from him. And then as she does, Angel grabs Willow by the throat and he says, I have a message for Buffy. And then he's like, Buffy walks in. She's like, why don't you just tell me it yourself? And he's like, it's not a message you actually tell someone. It's more about finding the bodies of everyone you've ever loved, strewn about and blah, blah, blah. He grabs her. He says, things are about to get interesting. Grabs her and kisses her. And she's beside herself. They're back in the library. And she's just looking at this ring that she put on that she loves so much.
She's shut down, hasn't she, at that point?
And Willow comes up with something very brilliant. She says, how did you know he turned? She says to Jenny. She says, you knew before. How did you know? And she says, oh, I saw his face, which we know is bullshit because he was standing in the shadows.
Yeah.
And Giles is going, if only we knew what happened. If only we knew what triggered it. And then Buffy runs out of the library, and then Willow realizes what that means, like because of their talk earlier.
Very poignant moment, actually, of Willow's she's not angry like we've seen before, or she literally just goes, shut up.
Yeah,
It's
just like she
so
realizes how important this is, that this girl, and especially since she gave her the advice to Carpe Diem, I'm sure there's a bit of, bad friend
Oops, what did I do? Yeah.
Angel's back with Drusilla and Spike's telling Angel, oh, you failed, you can't hurt her, blah blah blah. And that's when Drusilla tells Angel, you don't want to kill her, you want to play with her, you want to hurt her like you hurt me. And something we have to realize about Spike as he's sitting in this chair is the word that comes to mind is impotent. I feel like Spike feels impotent sitting in that chair.
Yeah, it's like the
Drusilla,
script persona.
Yes.
Power shift.
He definitely, Angel flirting with Drusilla in front of Spike is getting to him. He doesn't like sitting in that chair. It's really feeling it. And he even says, he's like, you don't know what you're talking about. He's like, you tried to kill her and look at you, you're in this chair. He says, to kill this girl, you got to love her. And so he's going to destroy her emotionally to be able to destroy her physically, because, we know that Buffy is driven by her emotions, but don't forget that anger and betrayal is a very big emotion. So we'll learn that later. We do shoot to a reenactment of their night together the night before, and I think they do that to show the contrast of how loving and caring and beautiful it was.
To make you even more feel how awful it is.
Right, because here he is telling her she was awful and it was terrible, and yet I think that's the reason, not just for a gratuitous sex scene, or they would have shown it at the time. I think they jump back to that so you can see the dichotomy there, the difference of how it really was. I mean, I'm not one for sex scenes, but it was very intimate, loving. You could tell that they were just definitely in love. Buffy has another one of her dreams, and she's at the cemetery, and it's during the day, and Angel walks up in the sun, and I will never forget the first time I saw that. That was just a moment. And he says, you have to know what to see. And she looks over, and we see Jenny Calendar with her little veil. And I think at that moment she realizes that Jenny's hiding something. That she's
there's
not
something going on. She knows that's.
And that's twice now that Jenny's come into her dream. So she knows that there's something. So she busts in to Jenny's classroom and just basically like throws her to the ground. She grabs her by the neck, throws her down, does the Buffy style, and Jenny's forced to come clean. And she tells them that she was sent here to keep Buffy and Angel apart, but that she really didn't know what would happen. Like, if she didn't keep them apart, she genuinely didn't know that this would happen.
No.
Angel was supposed to pay for what he did to her people, but Buffy says, what am I supposed to pay for? Like, I'm the one suffering here, not him. But she says if Angel achieved pure happiness for even a moment, he would lose his soul. And then at that moment is when Giles realizes also.
Again, heart-wrenching.
Heart-wrenching, because he is the closest thing to a father that Buffy has at the moment. And Buffy tells Jenny, you have to curse him again. And Jenny's like, it can't be done. Like, that magic is long lost. And she's like, you better figure it out, bitch. So
pretty much.
This scene, Xander comes up with a plan. He has a plan and a thought. And for him, we know that's big. So, and Willow's like, can I help? And Xander tells her, I actually need Cordelia for this one. And you can see it go across his face. But he's like, we do need a car. And she's like, I can get Oz. He has a van. And she's trying to make Xander a little jealous.
It's pretty good.
And they show up at the army site. And Xander and Cordelia break into the armory. And she's like, they get caught. And Xander tells her afterwards, they start making out. She tells this guy basically snuck her in there to make out with her because weapons get girls hot. And the guy's like, I don't think so. And then he's like, well, if you don't, I'm going to tell Sergeant so-and-so that this is not regulation. And he starts rattling off all these things. So the guy's like, you got 20 minutes. He's like, I only need 5. And he's like, forget I said that. But so they go in and, he remembers all of his soldier training from the Halloween episode, which is pretty cool.
Again, that becomes a constant theme also. It's like he has a residual remembrance of everything that happened that night when he was turned into a soldier boy.
Which I love. So
I love that too. I think it's a really nice side story.
She's like, do guns really make girls want to have sex? And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, well, just looking at guns make you want to have sex? And he's like, I'm 16. Looking at linoleum makes me want to have
sex. Actually wrote that quote down because it's absolutely gold.
It's just so him. And then again, with adorable Willow and Oz. Willow.
Yes, lovely yet again.
If he wants to make out, do you want to make out with me? And he looks very confused. She's like, I'm sorry. And he's like, look, I think about, like, since the time I've met you, the one thing I think about is he's like,
Sullivan.
Freeze frame, Willow kissage. And then she's like, but I'm not going to kiss you now. And she's like, but Willow kissage, freeze frame, like, it's so cute. And he's like, look, in my fantasy, when I'm kissing you, you're kissing me. And right now it seems like you're just doing this to make your friend jealous. And it's okay. I can wait, which I think is the most beautiful scene. That's why I love Oz so much. And he sees everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, he really is so cool. So Buffy, Giles, and Jenny find out that Angel killed Uncle Inos. And on the wall in his blood, he writes, was it good for you too? And Giles says to her, he's just trying to make it harder on you. And she's like, you know what, though? He's just making it easier. She knows she has to kill him. There's no way around that. So basically, they're trying to figure out where they would be going with the judge that's going to do the most damage. And they're like, the Bronze. They're like, no, it's closed today. So they show up at the mall. Angel takes Drusilla and the judge to the mall, and they start their plans of just zapping people. And he's just basically blasting people left and right, utter chaos. And then Buffy shoots him with a crossbow from across the room, like standing on a jewelry counter with a crossbow to get his attention. And he's like, you're a fool. No weapon forged can kill me. And she's like, that was then. This is now. And she pulls out a goddamn rocket launcher.
It's beautiful.
It was beautiful. Angel and Drusilla's face, when she pulls that out, they're like, ah! And they go run and kind of dive off the side.
Yeah, it's such a great dive. There's actually a point I've got at the end about that dive. It's great.
It's so good. He's like, what does that do? And it flows into a million pieces. And Buffy takes off after Angel. And they have this great fight. He tries gaslighting her again, but she's that's not going to work anymore.
She's over it. She's angry now. She's over it.
She's over it. She's angry. But when it comes down to it, she hesitates at killing him.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can't kill me. And she's like, yet. And he's like, you can't do it. You can't kill me. And she kicks him in the balls instead. And she says, give it time, which I think is awesome. There is a beautiful ending scene to this where Giles drives Buffy home and
again with
tries to talk, and Buffy feels wholly responsible for giving up her virginity and basically ruining the world. And Giles says to her, if you want me to scold you, if you want me to like wag my finger at you and tell you acted hastily, well, I will. He's like, but I'm not planning on it. He's like, you loved him. He loved you. It was evident how many times he was there.
Very wholesome moment.
It's a very sweet moment. He says, skilled. What does he say? Skilled is what you're looking for. Oh, he says, all you're going to get from me is support and respect, which I think is beautiful.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't read my own notes, but it was a really nice moment because she's crying. She's embarrassed. She's, she's humiliated, and she thinks that they're ashamed of her because she couldn't keep it in her pants, and look what happened. And I love that he says to her, "You're only going to get support and respect from me forever." So, and then it kind of ends with Joyce and Buffy having their annual. Well, she didn't make a cake, so she only had cupcakes. They had cupcakes, which is what I had for my birthday too. And asked her if she had fun for her birthday and make a wish. And Buffy said, "Can't we just let it burn?" And like puts her head on Joyce's shoulders and watches the flame go. And it's really sweet but heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. It's again with the touching things, very sweet but heartbreaking at the same time, as you're right. Yeah, very much.
Yeah. So that's all I have for this episode. I really, as I said, I hate Angelus. Like, I love Drusilla when she's bad. I love Spike when he's bad. But Angel is just, and I think it's because I've known narcissistic people like that tend to gaslight and go for the jugular.
It's very, I think, not only triggering to a teen, but triggering to a woman and to a man in the situation of how something can switch so quickly. It's so, I remember watching those episodes, and I remember it really affecting me at the time. And thinking, wow. And I've always said this, Buffy with the messages, all the way through. And I think it shines through that these are both written and directed by Jo completely.
Yep.
And it's
they're great episodes. They really
make
you feel some feelings.
And they make you feel, and they make you think, and they have funny lines. They're very integral storyline, but also with this depth. Absolutely.
And I
mean, with yours, Willow, again, I keep bringing this up. I mean, we had no music this week or anything like that.
Right.
But the fight, I will say, which we just said when the judge gets shot with a rocket launcher, and she does like that slow-mo with Angel and Drusilla as they come down the stairs. That's actually shot exactly the same as Die Hard, if you watch Die Hard.
That's funny. Okay. Because, it does ring a familiar bell
to you as you're looking at Die Hard.
That slow motion leap. And I do like that this episode has so many changing relationships. You've got the Buffy and Angel relationship changing, the Oz and Willow relationship changing to more of a relationship. We now have a date involved. We know there are promises of Willow kissage, even if it's not in a van while, she's mad at Xander. We've got Cordelia starting to act more like a girlfriend in some ways.
I feel she becomes more humanized as we go on in stages through the entire thing.
I mean, she's there helping out. She's there researching.
She's there helping out. Even though she's like pretending to hate it, she's there.
And she's doing that because she really loves him too.
Yeah. A couple of things was Ryan Francis, who played the soldier that Xander came across when they got caught as they were going into, was actually a guy called Ryan Francis, and he played young Peter in Hook.
Ah, okay.
Which was a nice little one, I thought. It was a little bit cute.
I actually feel like I might have known that, but I didn't know that.
I didn't. It was like, oh, I had no idea. It was one that I found just for this, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. Cool. The other thing I would mention as well, it's maybe a bit, I don't know if it's just reading a bit too into it. I feel the kick to the balls is not normally a Buffy move.
Nope, not even.
I feel that was a kind of a. Bear with me. To prove he was just a man anyway.
That was
with the context of how the episode went down, how hurt she is.
Mm-hmm. He affected her mentally. She could bring him to his knees.
And I feel it's like you might be a vampire, and I might not be able to kill you now, but I can hit you where it hurts because you're actually still a man. It was just that I got that from it a little bit. I think it was maybe a little bit out there, but kind of got that from it. It was quite symbolic. I don't know whether I was reading into it, to be fair.
Well, no, I actually think it is. It's a great move because she knows she can't stake him, and she could beat him till he's senseless. It's not doing much. He'll still laugh at her, but you kick him and you take him out where it hurts. And again, bringing him to his knees was very important, I think. Yeah, it wasn't that he fell down. He was on his knees. And I think that's what she needed from him. So.
But yeah, that's this week. No music, as I said, but I am going to mention that we are all doing a watch of this tonight. Which I need to get right. There we go. That way.
Repo, the genetic
opera. I've never seen this before. Yeah. But it's Anthony Stewart Head.
I'm excited about it because again, the music is very operatic, but you like musicals.
I love musicals.
even though it would be Adam's the bane of his existence, like most of it, there's no talking. It's they sing their lines. But well, you'll see visually, it's stunning. And
but again, I thought it was worth a mention at this point anyway, with us all watching it because of Anthony Stewart Head, and of course, anybody who knows Anthony Stewart Head, as we mentioned last week about his album, he's a great singer, great musician. So we'll probably touch on that probably in 2 weeks when we're back. We need to mention that we are away next week, both of us. Abby's away and I have some commitments, so we will have no show next week. We'll be back the following week
and
with the next 2 episodes, which will be
dun, dun, dun. Where did I put it? I just had it up.
15 and 16. Episodes 15 and 16, which is our phases.
Okay, I don't want to give too much away. Phases and Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered.
Do you know, I nearly gave something away earlier.
I know.
I was like, ugh. But we're supposed to not be doing that for everybody else. I nearly got to a point.
It's a very good episode next week. I mean, in 2 weeks, rather. Phases is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Well, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for watching. I hope you like and subscribe, because we want to keep doing this. It's fun for us, and I get to see that beautiful face across from me at least once a week.
And I get to see that beautiful face. 5x5.
I went out the other day and I was wearing a blue shirt like this, and the girl says to me, "Can I guess what your favorite color is?" Because she's like, "Your nails, your shirt, your hair." I was like, "It's pink." No, it's not. But anyway,
I knew you were gonna say that.
So me,
because that's what I would have done.
I know, just because we're obnoxious and we love it. Anyway, everybody have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for coming to our little show, and we'll talk soon.
Goodbye. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Pew pew pew.